Okay, so today I am here with one of my past clients who Matt just closed last week on a condo in Ballston, and just wanted to get him on here and just talk about his experience working with me and my team.
Yeah, thank you very much, Peggy. It's first of all, I want to say it's been a real pleasure. It's been a long road for us to get to where we are, but obviously it's worked out quite well. I could not be happier with the outcome. So I want to begin by emphasizing to future clients that I gave Peggy a very daunting set of requirements at the outset here. Um, I'm a 30-something professional in DC, and I'm single, so I wanted a one-bedroom unit. But on top of that, I had some other very specific requirements. I was very attached to Arlington. And when I first started this search, it was right after Amazon's HQ2 announcement, which was driving up the prices of many units in the area. I was also especially attached to the Ballston neighborhood, where I had been renting since 2017. Another big consideration for me was metro accessibility. Now, I get a metro subsidy through work. I prefer to use that versus driving, so metro accessibility was very, very important to me. I set the price range at about 350 to 450K, which unfortunately in this area, that certainly limits options. Many units go for well over that, especially since the HQ2 announcement. I wanted something that had modern appliances and would require minimal work to bring it up to standards. And I accepted that I was gonna have to do some work on it, but I had limits in terms of how much I would be willing to do. And then probably the single biggest thing about my requirements is that I was very, very set on them and very, very stubborn. So certainly I think I gave Peggy a bit of a challenge as a client. Now, we started our search at the beginning of 2019. I'd been working on my own before I met Peggy. And it wound up taking about a year. Pretty early in my experience with Peggy, we discovered a building in Ballston that I found I really liked. Almost all of the units in it were exactly what I was looking for. And I became pretty attached to that building. Unfortunately, the first offer we made got turned down. There would be two more after that, where we were also turned down. My fourth offer in that building wound up being the one that got accepted. And, again, we started our search in February 2019. That offer was accepted in March of 2020. Now, before this, I had nearly given up hope and feared that I would never find anything in my ideal area. And numerous times, I think I told Peggy, yeah, I think we may have to start looking elsewhere. Perhaps this is going to work the way I thought it would. Peggy certainly encouraged me not to give up and to maintain hope. And certainly I think we were both willing to be patient, but I do recognize that for Peggy, that meant that she had to deal with some very indeterminate timelines regarding when I would finally commit to something and when she'd finally be able to get me to close on anything. So that was the process. Those were my requirements. So now let's go into what I liked about working with Peggy. So first of all, I am a first-time buyer. That means that going in, I was certainly willing to do some of the research that I needed to do to figure out what I would need in order to successfully close and sort of what I wanted. But Peggy recognized that I didn't know what I was doing, and yet she was very accommodating of that. I found her to be exceptionally knowledgeable about this area, about the different neighborhoods, about the different buildings. So once I gave her my requirements, I could count on her to give me listings that match my requirements almost to a T. And certainly that didn't mean that I liked every single unit I saw, but I certainly think every single unit absolutely met my requirements and was well worth my time to go out and see them. Peggy was very, very responsive, which is very, very important. So it didn't really matter when I texted her, called her, or emailed her. She was able to respond at a moment's notice, and I really appreciated that. Now, going through the process itself, up through closing, was, I think, that's probably the scariest part of buying a place in general. And I really appreciated that. I felt with Peggy, she made it very, very simple. I mean, certainly by virtue of her connections and the people she knew and, who she could refer me to, I didn't really have to do that much work on my own, although I was still willing to do the research when needed. But, she always had options for me. And the even more interesting thing is that by the time my offer was accepted and we were getting ready to close, the COVID-19 crisis hit and I was in quarantine and Peggy was in quarantine. And that adds another challenge during the process of reviewing the documents and getting through the mortgage application process. By the time we actually closed, I wound up reviewing the documents and signing them from the passenger seat of my car, simply because the settlement agent was not able to be there and Peggy was not able to be there. Certainly, I hope I never have to buy a place like that again, and I'm sure Peggy hopes never to have to sell a unit in those kinds of circumstances. And the last thing I liked was that whenever I made offers, Peggy never tried to push me too far out of my comfort zone. I mean, she did try to challenge me to think about, sort of what my offers, how my offers might be received, and sort of what other people were likely doing, think about the trends in the market and the area at the time. But she still ultimately didn't push me too far, and she was willing to respectfully disagree with me while ultimately, steering me in the direction I wanted to go. So all of this to say, I cannot recommend Peggy enough. This is a seller's market in Arlington right now. And for the market that we're dealing with, I think Peggy is really one of the best people out there for helping clients navigate such a market. So she comes highly recommended. And Peggy, thank you so much for what you've done for me.
Great. Thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, I really enjoyed working with you. I didn't realize, we had met almost over a year ago and have consistently been looking at properties and making offers this whole time. So I'm so excited for you for your new place, and I'm glad that we were able to finally get it done, even in the seller's market. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Peggy.